All right, hello. Today I'm going to be testing different earbuds to see which ones are best for physical activity. So you don't keep wasting money, and I don't keep wasting more money. Now there are two earbuds in particular I wanted to look at: the Sony Link Buds right here, these ones, and the Sony WIC100 over the neck earbuds. Now, I want to separate these into three separate categories, and then we can declare like some sort of winner. First thing is comfort. By far, what I want in a pair of earbuds is comfort. They are going directly into your ear after all. Like they can't they can't just be sitting there itching my ear all the time. And especially when you try to sell me on a neckband product, like I'm going to be a little bit skeptical. The second is how easy it is to clean. It doesn't really sound all that important, but I guarantee you, you use any of these for longer than 2 days in the gym, and you are going to be like questioning how many pounds of earwax are going to be on those ear tips. And third is going to be the sound quality, in particular, how well it's able to isolate you from the people around you in the gym. And a little inclusion in that is going to be a mic test, just because, like, especially if you're a long distance walker, runner, cyclist, whatever, you might be taking calls sometimes on the bike or on a run or on the track, wherever. Now, the main way I want to test these is by taking them through a full workout. It doesn't matter which one, really, because all of them involving different machines or standing or sitting or like facing upside down. So I think it's going to not matter in the end. But what I think does matter is that I use both earbuds while I'm doing the set. Walking between different machines and stuff, I don't want to bump into people. But yeah, let's just get this started. So when I train, I typically train with seated machines. So a lot of people who do squats or even bench without like the Smith or anything may have a different experience than me. Although I think I personally do some unorthodox machine work. So maybe those people will still find this a bit useful. Now, going into this, I was not expecting very much from either of these earbuds, in particular the Link Buds, because I've had these for longer than the WIC 100s. And in particular, I've used them at work. I haven't used them for a workout until recently, and they don't perform so well at work. They're constantly halfway out of my ear. It does not take long for them to just annoy my ear constantly. And not to mention, because I really do care about the sound quality of whatever I'm listening to. So the Link Buds are just not it for that. But then again, this is when I'm at work in particular, I'm paying a lot more attention to whatever I'm listening to in particular. That could have something to do with the fact that I don't like them so much just at work. So I'm just going to try to be unbiased with these. But let's go ahead and start out with the Sony WIC 100s.
During the vast majority of my workouts, I really didn't notice a problem with them at all. Like, they weren't slipping very much. They felt comfortable in my ear. Like, they weren't itching the whole time. Not to mention, like, they weren't even a problem for most of these machines that I was using. However, there were definitely a few that bothered me more than others. All right, I think I've come to my verdict on the Sony WIC 100s. The conclusion I can like say in one sentence about it is that you definitely get every dollar you paid for out of them. I paid 35 for mine, and if you could calculate $1 for every hour of battery life, sure, that's 25 bucks. And then you put the rest of the 10 into functionality, I think you really do get every cent out of these. However, with that statement, there is the opposite side of it, where they are way too light. If you're looking straight up or you're leaning back on a machine, yeah, you're going to have problems with them falling off your head, especially if you don't wear both earbuds in. But honestly, I got to say, like, that's my biggest gripe about them. That's it. Like, if I could find a way to fix that, then I think these would be like a super seriously good option. Not to mention, like, the cleaning is obviously not that big of a deal. It's the ear tips that are the most annoying. And not to mention, another big positive for me is that you can EQ them. It's not the most detailed EQing possible. However, it is, more than good enough for $35. So even though it, in my mind, failed in some regards, I do believe that it makes up for it in others. All right, that's kind of all I have to say about the Sony WIC 100s. If you don't like the fact that you have to have like in-ear earbuds or like they bother you for some reason, just get the acoustic foam, or not the acoustic like ear tips, the foam ones, or you can get just like the bone conducting ones, the bone conducting earbuds, headphones. The Shocks brand make a pretty cheap alternative. And if the weight is also an issue for you, like you really don't like that, just get some heavier setted ones, like because they're also still pretty cheap, like the DeWalt ones, because apparently they make that. But alas, now that we're done with those, let's move on to the ones I'm a lot more familiar with, the Sony Link Buds. Now, when I started this video, I genuinely thought these would be terrible for working out because at work, they constantly slip out of my ears. I'm wearing the ones that are perfect for my ear and they still slip out constantly. But clearly, as you're seeing right here, doesn't really happen. Like I'm doing a full set for reps. They're not falling out, they're not itching, and they're not distracting me. Even when I look straight up, I'm grunting my face, like contorting it in different ways. They're not falling out. And I gotta give it to these. Like they're clearly working a lot better than I thought they would.
Oh, they stayed in so well. I could definitely tell like I had earbuds in the entire time. They weren't perfect, but man, they stayed in shockingly well. Maybe it's just me personally because I can get in the zone fairly easily. Comfort was like a 6 or a 7. I'm leaning towards the 7, honestly, because for the entire duration of the workout, it went pretty well. I think they didn't fall out once, not one time. But man, like at work, whenever I'm doing work stuff, that is when it starts falling out. But for working out at least, which is the point of this video, none of that.
And one thing I totally forgot to mention about is that the cleaning is extremely easy. It's literally just take a wipe it down, and that's it. Now, even $125 earbuds, at least that's what I paid for them, have their downsides. In this case in particular, it's the sound quality. It is not just not hitting lows. The bass is like, it sounds like it's breaking the earbuds themselves. I crank it up to about 5 or 6 on the Sony Connect app. That one, Sound Connect, that's what it's called. And it just can't handle it. It literally cannot. Not just that, they cannot get loud enough. In my personal earbuds, I can't really show you this, but once you get to about 80% volume and higher, it's like it doesn't get any louder. That's like it peaks at a certain point. I don't know if that's because of my EQ levels, but even the EQing just can't save it in the same way that the WIC 100s can. I don't know if I brought it up yet, but those things, like, they hit the bass pretty well for how small the little drivers are. But if you're looking for like overall functionality and you're willing to spend the money, just get the default, like, AirPods Pros or the Galaxy Buds, or like, whatever the phone specific earbuds, like the default ones they would recommend to you. Just get those. They sound great and they're usually easy to clean. But if you need to save some money, I like just get like Raycons or like the JBL Sport, like over the ear earbuds. But personally, I'm just gonna stick to these over the neck ones, the Sonys for now. Not only for their price point, but specifically, the one thing that I want is good sound quality. The fact that they at least stay in, at least, that is annoying, but maybe I'll upgrade in the future. But either way, I'm still gonna pick the Sony WIC 100s over the Link Buds, just because, like, this is a video about using earbuds in the gym after all. And in the gym, they sound way better than the Link Buds. The Link Buds, just the bass peaks and it breaks, and I cannot put up with that. Even if they do stay in my ears better and they're maybe a little bit more comfortable. And like I said earlier, if comfortability is really a problem, just get those custom ear tips. It'll fix most of those issues. But I digress. That is all I had to say. Later.